rolling. Nice. So first, introductions. My name is Laurence. I am a MD MPP student at Harvard Medical School and Harvard Kennedy School. And I'm super excited to be sharing my journey and share a little bit more about what brought me here and what I'm hoping to do next. First of all, why this video format? Why am I bringing back my YouTube channel? This has been a long time coming. I have been a blogger on Style Bike High for 10 years now, and I've done it through various formats, from writing blogs to making YouTube videos to Instagram and TikTok, and just any little ways that I found to be able to put my content out there. And this year, I'm really excited to bring back YouTube to do some more long form formatting of content. And I think it's going to be especially important in just where I'm at in my journey, and specifically the right avenue for me to get the messages that I want to get across. And so welcome. This video is kind of us getting started. I want to just share a little bit, as I said, about my program, about what this next year will be, but there's going to be some different kind of videos coming after this, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. What is this policy degree? What am I doing for the next year? Let's talk about it. So I just finished my 3rd year of medical school at Harvard. And what that means is I did 1 year of preclinical coursework, which was learning all of the physiology and pharmacology and pathology, all really intensive in 1 year. And then my 2nd year of medical school was all of my core clerkships. And so rotating through psychiatry, OB-GYN, pediatrics, surgery, taking all of the correlated shelf exams, and getting all of that core clinical experience. And then in my 3rd year, I've taken both board exams, step 1 and step 2, and I also did my sub-internships, which are more advanced clinical rotations in a variety of fields. I did emergency medicine, and then the field I'm applying into, which is obstetrics and gynecology. I did 2 rotations in that. And then I did my required internal medicine sub-internship as well. So a lot of medical school behind me, and now I find myself in a classroom surrounded by mostly non-medical people and learning topics I've never learned about because I decided to spend the next year studying public policy. So the MD MPP program at Harvard is a dual degree program, which means because they're both within Harvard, they're like really a combined program. And that means that I'm able to do the 2-year MPP in just 1 year. Right now, I've been settling with the fact that, yes, choosing to do a 2-year program in 1 year means it is quite intensive, and we'll get into that as well. But yeah, I'm just going to spend 2 semesters, so 1 year at the Kennedy School. Then I'll be returning back to the medical school to finish up my final requirements and apply to residency. So the next year is about to be extremely transformative, and that's why I want to bring back this long-form content and really bring you all along. So why public policy? When I applied to medical school, in my original, personal statements and interviews, I knew I wanted to do some kind of dual degree. And I knew that because when I thought about myself as a doctor and what I wanted to do, I wanted to be like a physician, and like I knew I wanted to be an advocate. I knew I wanted to maybe work in organizations, maybe policy, but more so like I was kind of thinking like public health, getting a master's in public health. I entered medical school with those ideas of wanting to probably pursue an additional degree to my training. As I started school and talking with other peers, I found out more about the public policy track, and I found that it was just going to be the perfect fit. So I ended up choosing public policy versus public health. A couple things. First of all, my interest in wanting to do this additional degree only strengthened as I got more clinical exposure. I would look around our patient consensus and constantly see that the sickest patients were our poorest patients. There were our patients of color. There were patients who came from underserved communities, and just realizing that there are policies in place that are causing this, and that maybe policies in place that could help to correct these injustices in our system. So that was kind of one thing that was in my mind, is really understanding and seeing for myself in my own eyes how politics and our policies are affecting patient care. Along with that, even if it's not like public policy per se, like government policy, but even policies within our hospital. Who are the admins who are making certain decisions? What are the thresholds to when you send a patient up to the ICU, or if we're going to send them back into the community? What are the policies in place that we can get them a primary care physician? What are little like check marks or value markers that can be implemented within our system that can help to correct health disparities? These are kind of things that I was thinking about. And I realized that I just didn't have any of the tools to be able to take on some of the questions that I had in my mind, or importantly, to be a voice at the table and understand the definitions, the terms, the ways that, the system works in order to then propose ideas or advocate for patients in a way that'd be more effective. And so I found when looking at, public health versus public policy in the public policy program, I could gain tools and skills that I could really use in a variety of circumstances. So I'll touch a little bit on exactly what my coursework will be, and maybe I'll be a little more clear on some of the skills and tools that I'm thinking about. Other thing is, I feel like as I was going through medical school, first of all, thinking back on my first year, there's just so much confusion and, moving to a new city by myself and trying to figure out who I am. And also, being in this rigorous program and thinking about what I want to do with my life. It is a very existential experience. And I know all medical students agree. But as time went on, I did feel like I got a clearer and clearer picture of the kind of work that I wanted to do. And a big part of that work was community and also my intended specialty, which is OB/GYN. Specifically thinking about women's health, thinking about OB health, birth justice. Like there's so many topics that are just abortion, so many topics that are so intertwined with policy. And seeing that also, it made a clear link between policy and my clinical work that I'd be doing in the future. So specifically, I'm really interested in a reproductive justice lens, and that's a lens or a concept that was created by Black women as a way to really put the voices of Black women in the center of conversations around birth, around childbearing, pregnancy, birth justice, all reproductive, contraceptive as well, all reproductive conversations. And interestingly too, like when you're looking at who are the people who are doing reproductive justice work, there are amazing courses in the law school and policy side that, again, I just wanted to be able to get into that world and understand and have the skills and the knowledge about these concepts that medical school classes don't necessarily cover. So for example, at the ending of my program, I'll be writing a policy analysis piece. And so I will be learning and we'll have to do how do I take a clinical problem and come up with policy solutions and also have the data and the analysis behind that solution. And so things I've never done before, I'm going to be learning concepts like economics for the very first time. And it's exciting, it's challenging, but I think the only one word that comes to my mind is it's going to be absolutely transformative. So let's get into the fun part. What classes am I taking this semester? I'm just starting to finalize my schedule, and so I wanted to share. I actually need to write them down because it's a lot. There is a core curriculum at the Kennedy School, and so I'm enrolled in a lot of those classes along with my other and Masters of Public Policy peers. And that core curriculum is really some of the key skills around policy making and policy skills that I'll be learning. So one of those first courses is policy design and delivery. And just as that sounds, that's really talking about giving us a framework on how do you address policy, from defining your topic to like really focusing in, identifying challenges at this like iterative process. And for me in class, when our professor was showing that diagram and explaining where we're about to go in the next couple of weeks, it reminded me about like learning the scientific method as a biology major. And, once you learn that method, you then apply it to a variety of circumstances. So my understanding is I'm basically learning the scientific method of policy design within this course in the next couple of weeks, which will be really exciting. Next course, part of the core curriculum I'm taking is a quantitative analysis course, aka stats. So again, in order to work with data, in order to present data as part of policy proposals, I have to understand how do I collect it, how do I deal with it, how do I present it. So that's what I'll be learning there. I also, in my core curricular, we also have negotiations course. And negotiations, I'm really excited for because, again, it's a skill that I never even learned about. And turns out that there's books and there's like a whole framework and everything. Like there's actually ways to learn how to negotiate. So I'll be taking that course. Oh, and then we're also required to take race and racism and public policy courses. And so the one I selected is called Justice Advocacy in You. So I'm really excited to learn about race and racism, which I'm really passionate about decreasing racial disparities in healthcare. But also, I selected this one in particular because it had an aspect to it of like, how do you also learn advocacy? How do you also learn like not just understanding racism, but how do we then combat it? So I'm excited for that course. Next, I have some more MPP MD specific courses. So we're taking a U.S. healthcare industry and regulatory policy. It's a lot of course names, y'all. But yeah, this is basically my healthcare class, and it's actually a policy/business class where we're learning the business side of healthcare in order to understand as policymakers, how do you regulate it? So this is really interesting because as a medical student, as a future doctor, I don't think of the business side of healthcare at all. And having to step back and, there are certain things that we have talked about in medical school, like the cost of healthcare in the US being extremely high compared to other developed countries but not having the health outcomes to show for it. So I'm really interested to dive into more of a business standpoint, and also to have those skills to bring to the table of understanding, all right, how can I propose solutions that can advance health equity in a way that the business side could still agree with and then make it happen? Because I believe healthcare is a right. But unfortunately, in this country, it is a business as well. And so understanding that, I think, will be a key tool to help me make changes in the system. Other electives I chose op-ed writing. Super excited for this course. I've always been into writing, but I haven't, and I have some op-ed drafts in my laptop, but I haven't been able to actually dedicate the time to better my writing and to put things out there. So I'm very excited to spend some time working on that. And then other elective I chose is a course of social policy, and this one's called From the Bottom to the Top, Unequal Opportunities and Outcomes Across Generations. This is a class focused on poverty, focused on what are the policies that have led some people to have advantages in our society and some people to not. And so I think I'm going to learn a lot and be able to apply it to my focus, which will be reproductive justice, women's health. Lastly, a little bit of an interesting class that I wanted to focus on things, but also take the opportunity to learn about things that I haven't learned about before. And so the other elective I chose is called Science and Implications of Generative AI. This is going to be an interesting one as well. AI is everywhere. It's going to be part of medicine and part of all the work I want to do as well. And so being able to learn about AI, how do we use it, how do we regulate it, I think it's going to be key. So I think that's all of my courses. I'm super excited to go across this next year to bring you all along. Please come below any questions that you have. I'm excited for the challenge. Excited to get to work and just excited for what this program will allow me to be able to do for my community. So thank you all for watching.